passage of half a century converts the fiercest of football rivalries into firm friendships. Recently in Sao Paulo, the players who represented Brazil and Czechoslovakia in the FIFA World Cup final of 1962 were able to get reacquainted. For Brazil, it was the second of the 5 triumphs. For Czechoslovakia, it was the last time their country reached a final before its partition. The match took place in Santiago, the capital of Chile, and the Czechs were on guard against the most incisive of their opponents, Garrincha. The Quicksilver winger had scored twice in both quarter and semi-finals, and his skill and devastating finishing ability was world-renowned.
I remember approaching him and tapping him on the shoulder. I looked at his legs. They seemed the same as mine, but his skill was phenomenal. His dribbling, his back flicks. It didn't matter to him whether he used his right or left foot to kick the ball. I remember once seeing him score a beautiful goal with his left foot right out of the blue. Well, he really was somebody. And he's now in heaven where he plays football with his friends. I do admire him. To me, he was a role model and a genius.
In those days, there were no substitutes, so those not selected would be spectators for the whole game. That was the fate of Václav Mašek, who earlier in the tournament had scored what was then the fastest goal in World Cup history.
It was the World Cup final, the absolute pinnacle. But every player would like to play in every game, and that's not possible. Only 11 players can play in any game. You can't help them. You can only watch, keeping your fingers crossed and hoping that things go well for your team. I was allowed onto the field at first, though, because 4 players, including me, carried the Czechoslovakian flag before the match.
Brazil and Czechoslovakia had met in a group game and played out a somewhat tepid goalless draw in front of a small crowd in Viña del Mar. With almost 70,000 packing the national stadium for the final, the teams were now inspired to attack, and the Europeans soon broke the deadlock.
I ran into the space where I expected the ball to come. I was known more as an attacker rather than a defender. I was never good at the back. I saw the opportunity when Pospical was running down the right-hand side. Nilton Santos, along with Zito, tried to tackle him. I saw free space in the penalty area, so I ran there, and Pospical passed me the ball. There was no time to control the ball, so I decided to hit it first time. And it came off.
However, this was Brazil's day, and much of the blame for Czechoslovakia's demise could be laid at the door of their keeper, William Cruyff. It was an undeserved misfortune, as until then, he had been in exemplary form.
I can't remember it exactly, as it was a long time ago. But it was thanks to Vilda that we'd made it so far. But it just wasn't his game in the final. As you know, when a striker makes a mistake, there's still a midfielder, a defender, and a goalkeeper behind him. When a midfielder makes a mistake, then there's a defender and a goalkeeper. If a defender makes a mistake, there's still the goalkeeper. But if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, then there's only a net behind him. I'll say it again, Vilda had a very good tournament, but he just wasn't himself in the final.
Cruyff sadly passed away in 2007, but those that were able to travel were received as honoured guests. Rightly so. Czechoslovakia was a nation that always impressed on the football field. And the passage of time also means that any regret at the defeat has been replaced by pride in achievement.
You know what? We all felt that we could have done better. But then we did get to the final. So all the expectations were fulfilled. Not just 100%, fulfilled even more.